Aaron here with EZV Bow Sights with a kind of a different video. This one is how EZV was born and why. And so many products, I'm sure the guy with the pillow wasn't getting a good night's sleep, so he did something about it. Well, this is the true story on how EZV was put together, and I hope you enjoy it. Maybe it's boring, but I've only told this story to a few, and I hope I can not get too choked up and tell you the real reason why I did this. So my dad gave me a bow when I was 5. We're talking 1976, and I fell in love with it. It was my first love. Archery just took me over. Well, my parents got divorced when I was 7, and Dad got his apartment, and we went and visited him, my sister and I, every other weekend. And when we did, we shot archery, or we went fishing if it wasn't. But it was archery. He wasn't there to teach me how to shave. He wasn't there to teach me how to change spark plugs, those types of things. It was archery, and it was time with Dad, and it soaked me up, and it filled me up, and I never looked back. I've never given up. I've never missed an opening day. Archery's been part of my life. But then I got into my early teens, maybe 12, 13, and I discovered Ted Nugent. I grew up in Detroit, and Nugent made bow hunting cool even. I mean, I got it from Dad. Dad's cool, but I mean, Nugent, right? So my bow and arrow, my favorite song, just took me and kept me on the straight and narrow, kept me away from the pitfalls of being a teenager. Man, I was getting ready for bow season. I was shooting my bow, or I was scouting. I was at that age chasing muskrats and small game. I even shot a duck. I mean, anything I could do with my bow and arrow kept me out of the trouble. So bow hunting was such a huge part of my life. Well, I moved on, and I got working, and I started fixing machines, and I found myself in engineering of automotive industry, and I made really good money in my early 20s with the math skills were the other tool that my dad gave me. Bow hunting and math. Well, I made a lot of money. It was really cool. I was gonna make a lot of money. I had a really bright future in automotive engineering. I built machines that built parts for cars. So start to finish, really cool. But it wasn't fulfilling. So an opportunity, the archery shop that I used to hang out in, the guy wanted to sell it. It happened to be Nugent's partner, Frank Durner, wanted to sell his archery range. So I quit automotive engineering. My boss said I could always come back, which was a little reassuring, and I bought this archery shop. And I'm getting to where this is going, but it's important you follow me along. A few years later, a girl walked into my archery shop and took my heart. I fell in love with her first sight. Believe it or not, true story. And we started dating, and about 3 months into our dating, she tells me that she's going to leave for a week and go to Montana to see her dad that she hasn't seen in a couple of years. And she had never mentioned him. And holy cow, wow, your dad lives in Montana, how very cool. Got her some brownie points in my book. Always wanted to go out west. And she was gone for a week. When she came back, I had a little diamond chip ring in my hand, promise ring, I don't know, just don't ever leave me again ring. And she wouldn't take it. She left me standing there with a ring, you know, because she had 1 foot in Montana. She saw this beautiful place, and so she didn't break up with me, but we continued to date. But she says she has to live in Montana. She saw this place, she can't live without it now, and I got this business, and this was very confusing. We continued to date for a few more months, so finally she said, come to Montana, let me show you this thing. So we flew out here, and once I got a look at this, just like the bow and arrow, just awestruck, just took me over. I said, I will move here with you in 5 years. Let's build a 5-year plan. And she agreed, and on a handshake, we eloped that Monday morning in Montana to make sure our marriage certificate said Montana. This is where we're going to start our new life on a 5-year plan. So when I got home and I told Mom, hey, we got married, that's another story. She wasn't so excited as we were. But 6 months later, into our 5-year plan, I'm sitting at a standstill on a 5-lane expressway out of Detroit trying to get home. I thought, what the hell am I doing? My life is out there. I called her up. I said, start packing. I liquidated the archery shop. 50% off, blew everything out. Like 2 stupid kids, we packed up a U-Haul, our wagon train, and we moved 2,200 miles away from our family and tried to chisel out a new life out here. And we reopened the archery shop and built a beautiful business. Took a lot of hours. We are the dynamic duo. She runs the back room, I run the front room. We had a beautiful, it's called Spirit Quest Archery here in northwest Montana, and it was fantastic. But I worked 80, 90-hour work weeks, as many small business owners do, and it took a lot of time away. Well, we had a son, and the first 10 years, he just wanted mom. Really could care less if he had a dad, right? I'm working, I'm gone. But once he started 10, 11, in that age, he wants dad around. Life changed. All this time, I built this beautiful life out here with this archery shop. I miss my dad. I want him to come out here and see this life that we built. And he's not a real big traveler guy, doesn't like airplanes, and I don't blame him. It's a long ways to drive by himself. So he never got to see my archery shop and what we built, my wife and I, this wonderful life, and the hunting stories that I told him of the mountains. I mean, tree stand and whitetails in Michigan was cool, but honestly, guys, this is a whole nother chapter, and run-ins with moose and all these stories. And I want him to be out here and talking on the phone all the time. We're real close, but hadn't hunted with him in almost 20 years. I was out here. Well, we sold the shop. We moved across the state. Try to slow life down. I was going to get a 40-hour-a-week job at one of these outdoor companies. The Bozeman area of Montana is like Silicon Valley of outdoor companies. We got Sitka, we got Black Gold, we got Mystery Ranch Packs. I knew I would get a job with one of these guys with my engineering skills or whatever, and be around and stay at home. Well, a couple of years into that, my dad calls in March of 2015, and he says, I want to come share an elk camp with you. I want to come hunting with you. He's not going to get a tag. He was 72, 73 then, but he wants to come and experience it. And I just got overjoyed, so excited. We talked then every other day until September while he's riding his bike at home and he's walking and he's getting in shape, and I'm getting gear ready. And I'm so excited to share this with my dad, the guy that gave me this bow hunting that I made a life of. I've turned this into my whole life. A bow hunter education instructor for almost 20 years, and I was so excited. So he gets off a plane. I do a lot of my hunting up in the Missouri Breaks. We jump in the camper. We go up there. Usually it's a 45-50 minute hike into where the elk are in the morning. First morning it takes us 2 hours. Dad's not moving as fast as I thought he could or would. Or you got to get on these animals. It happens fast. We may spot them a half a mile, even up to a mile away, and then it's take off and go for 2 hours. And by day 3, that wasn't going to happen. I realized I could either go over there and kill an elk, which I really needed to do to feed my family, or hang out with Dad and camp. He just wasn't going to keep up. So as bummed as I was, I got to show him these things. So we came back. I took him to Yellowstone Park. Him and I experienced that for the first time together, which was super cool. And we came back to the house, and we had one more day before my dad's going to get on an airplane, go back to Michigan. I may never hunt with him again. He's in his 70s. Be realistic. I may never lay eyes on him again even. Is going to get choked up telling you the story, but we had one more morning, and I asked him about 9 o'clock that night. I said, I know a spot. I don't know how good it is. I don't know if you want to go one more. And he wouldn't even let me finish the sentence. He said, let's go. So we got up at 4 in the morning. We went out there. It's just about 300-400 yards from the truck. Pretty easy walk. We're going in on a trail about that wide through the real thick lodgepole. There's an elk trail, and then it opens up into a meadow, and that same trail goes through the meadow back into the forest, closed tight lodgepole. And I put him in the weeds on my left, 20 yards away. I knock an arrow, I lean my bow against a tree, and I start cow calling elk just as the sun's coming up. It was a gorgeous morning, and he's soaking it up. And just to share that again, maybe the last time with my dad, and it don't take long. I see legs. It's super thick lodgepole, but I see legs coming across there, and this elk, I don't care what it is going to cross that path. It's this wide, okay? And there's nothing in the hole that I can range ahead of time. I ranged the edge of the meadow. I ranged a few spots when I sat down. I'm using a single pin sight. I think I set it at 30. I got some hash marks scribed into my pin, but this elk is coming through and it's going to step into this hole, and now I have a choice. And there's a lot of pressure on this shot, as you can well imagine. I can either be holding my rangefinder when it steps in the hole and hope that I have time to then make, or I'm going to be at full draw when it, and you can guess what I did. I drew my bow, and I'm a good guesser. I'm a good archer. I guess really good most of the time. I've also guessed wrong many times. Sent them over the back, sent some under the belly. Elk's coming through. I come to full draw. As soon as it enters the hole, it's a cow. I give a little and I guess, and I send an arrow. And the arrow zipping across the field, my dad's head jerks up, and what the hell, he didn't even see it coming. And I smack this cow, and it runs off. Doesn't go 35, 40 yards. You hear it just somersault, and it's done. Perfectly placed arrow. We gave it some time. I'm just going crazy. No antlers. Didn't have, is the best hunting moment of my life to share this with my dad. Perhaps for the last time. I'm getting choked up. But I guessed at this shot. Well, after it's time, half an hour's gone by and it's time to go see where she's at, I had him walk over and I stood him in the hole, and then I came back and I ranged the shot, and it was 60 yards, or sorry, it was 59 yards, and I shot it for 60. So I was a really good guess, but it's a long shot. I hit this elk perfectly. We boned her out, one trip, took her back to the truck, took her in to the processor. The next morning I put my dad on an airplane. I was soaring the clouds. To have my dad out here with me, to do that, to show him what I've done with what he gave me, this precious gift of archery, I'm losing it. But the best hunting moment of my life, bar none. Put him on an airplane. Within 24 hours, I started to get sick because I started to think about, what if I guessed wrong? Because I guessed. And I'm a good guesser, but I've guessed wrong before. And I've wounded a few animals in my past. And had I wounded that animal at that moment with my dad, my mentor, he was not physically able to track this animal up and down the mountains. I would have had to put him on an airplane and gone back and looking for a wounded animal. I might have quit. I've made bow hunting my life. Everything about it. I've been fortunate enough to make a living bow hunting and teaching bow hunting and selling bow hunting gear. And that might have been, had I wounded that animal and lost that animal in the presence of my mentor and my teacher and my father for the last time, it would have destroyed me. And I got this pit in my gut. And I have used, there's some stuff out there, I'm not knocking other guys' product, but there's some belly and back ranging stuff you can put on your bow sight. I've used all these different things. I've used all these different sights. And I still, so many times, found myself guessing. I said, there's got to be a better way, right? You hear that all the time, and that's the truth. I said, I'm not going to go back into the woods, and I'm never going to guess again. And about half of the time, I'm able to range it, put it away, set my single pin, and make a great archery shot. It works about half the time. Or I know my range of my trees, and yep, he's standing right by my 30-yard tree. But about half of the time, if you're honest with yourself, it happens fast. It's a few seconds, and you need to be at full draw, and you need to do it well. None of this guessing. So I said, that's never going to happen again, ever, ever. So I started to put my math skills to work and my engineering and just working on this. And it took about 3 days only, but 3 days later, I was driving down the road and I got this idea for a V, and the vitals are this, and the vitals would get smaller as it's farther away, which would fit higher, and they'd have to raise the V. And I about went into the ditch. I just, and I busted into the door at my home when I got home that night. My family's sitting there at the kitchen table waiting for me to sit down for dinner, and I said, I'm going to build this archery sight for me. I never thought I would be sharing it with you. This has been unbelievable, but I said, I tried to explain it to him, and I actually grabbed a paper plate and I cut a triangle out of it, and I said, I'm going to build a sight, and then, you know, the farther it is, and it fit higher, and they both looked at me and they said, they got it. I said, you got it? They said, I got. So off to the shop I went after dinner. It was dark, and I started building prototypes for me, and they weren't pretty. And I've got a whole drawer full of them, and I love every one of them. And I worked on it, and I worked on it, and I worked on it 5 months through the winter of Montana, and it got to be 20 below. I was out there shooting all these different stuff, trying to get this, trying to never ever guess again. And with everything I have in me, I needed to be better at what I do, what I love so very much, or it would destroy me. So literally, like the vacuum guy, hundreds and hundreds of prototypes later, I had it, and it worked for my bow. Just one size, but it matched my bow, and it worked fantastic. And my wife, just as wonderful as she is, she got behind me. We started selling stuff. The first patent was $25,000, you know, for a piece of paper, before we could really show anybody. And then we built one for her, and she loved it. And then we ended up building one for a guy cop buddy down the road, and then his buddy wanted one, and before you know it, we started producing them, and it's changed so much over the last 3 years. I'm so honored to be a part of your bow hunting passion. If you try the Easy V, it's pretty incredible. I'm learning more than I ever had. I've been bow hunting now. This is my 41st year, and I've learned more about archery and aiming and target panic and all these other wonderful, wonderful things, and feedback from you guys out there. And we're developing it, we're making it better and better. But what a journey, and writing a completely different archery book on what this could be and what it does. And again, I'm so privileged, but that's the true story on how Easy V was born. And I appreciate you being along on our journey, and welcome to the evolution.
There I was, back in the wild again, and I felt right at home where I belong. I had that feeling coming over me again, just like it happened so many times before.